that we have seen with NADMO's response to disasters is the slowness with which you provide relief items to victims and vulnerable people in situations of disaster. Why?
I wouldn't say that it is the slowness or it is slow.
Is it not?
I don't think so. Unless you want to give specifics, which I may be able to explain.
No, but I started by saying this is what we have observed over the years.
Okay, so
specifically speaking, when the situation happened in the fire at Edum Blue Light Market, it took NADMO a while to send relief items through the office of the your parent ministry,
that's true.
Interior.
That's true.
Yes.
You see, when disaster happens, nobody plans for disaster. That is why it's able to distort the social order. So when disaster happens, it is the duty of NADMO to go in first, combat the disaster. And after the combat, the last phase of disaster management, which is the recovery or restoration stage, comes in. And this stage, you don't rush it. You have to do some assessments. The preliminary one is done to identify the scale of impact in terms of property, in terms of life. And then you look at the victims of the disaster, the impact cost, the degree of loss of these victims. And then when you identify that, you also categorize them into need categorization. This is where you look at people who are very, very vulnerable. And those who are affected by the disaster, they still have capacity to maintain normal life.
I see.
So if you rush into it, you may be doing the wrong thing. Things might even go to the support.
2 weeks is a lot of time in the case of the Edum Light Market.
No, it's not a lot of time because you might take time because work with other institutions like fire service, like electricity company. You work with those institutions to come out with some of these statistics. The NADMO officers don't work alone. So you need to get your information right before we respond to it. If you don't get the information right and we start responding, we'll respond and sit back and see that it wasn't actually making an impact or it didn't actually make an impact. So the process that we go through.
So what is the standard time?
It depends on the scale of disaster. For instance, if we take the Edum incident, the standard time shouldn't be beyond 3 weeks. Within a week to 2, we should be able to react to it. So if that period is slow in the eye of the public, it is because probably we don't on the same page. We don't know what goes in before the support comes.
Or it could also be because when disaster happens, we expect to see NADMO there doing their job swiftly and quickly.
That's one you see, except that you want to disagree with me because when disaster happens...
Because by 2 weeks' time, by 3 weeks' time, some victims would probably be dead from the disaster.
No, it is better to get it right than to do it wrongly. Since that incident happened, from the very first day it happened, NADMO officers go to that the disaster site every day to engage those who are affected, to look at property destroyed. They go every day.
Are you unable